cord. All right, I'm going to show you a few different hairstyles. So I have a couple faces here, so they'll be very simple. First one I'm going to show you is that wave haircut, where you got like the waves in the hair. Okay, so the first thing I want is the hairline. So the hairline should have been drawn probably not straight. I feel like when everybody has the waves, the hairline isn't like that pin straight. So, and then along the sides and that swoop in front of the ears. Okay, so to draw that hairline, or rather to draw that hair, I'm going to use a 6B pencil. Depending on how dark the hair is, you might want to use a lighter pencil. And you don't actually need it too sharpened. So I'm going to start by, and you should always try to still use a reference. Look in the mirror, look at your reference image, and try to go by what you're seeing in the mirror. Okay? So I'm going in with this kind of like curly-ish line that almost looks like a little bit of a scribble scrabble, but much closer together, a little bit tighter together. But you're working on a larger picture, so it should be a little bit larger than that. And now I'm just going a little bit further back and doing a similar line. If it goes all the way across, then draw it all the way across. If it, no matter what, it shouldn't be going straight across. You want it to curve, and if it goes around the head, then try to get it around. Although it looks a little halo-like. Okay, sometimes I feel like the waves kind of like go alternate how they are. Okay, and then this is if you have like a little bit of a fade. Like let's say this could go for anybody if the sideburn parts fade a little bit. So for that, what I do is a similar line. And think about when we did the stippling, okay? We did a lot of dots to make a darker value, and then when we wanted to get lighter, we started doing less dots and we started to separate them. So it's the same idea if your hair has some kind of a fade in it, okay? And your skin tone should be going right up into the hairline, which we'll actually use right here anyhow, okay? And we're going to use the drawing stump in just a second. All right, and in the end, you're not going to want to have that harsh of a line along there. So if you want to erase it, you can erase it, or you can just leave it, and it should blend in with everything else. All right, so now I'm going to use the drawing stump. What I'm going to do, even down here, I don't necessarily want to just smudge it. I'd rather do almost more stippling in a way. So what that'll end up doing is leaving some highlights and some shadows and making it look like it's on your actual skin. Okay, now for the wave part, I'm going to, and you could actually add another value in there if you wanted, just a little bit, or even use the same pencil to shade it. Because basically this is a very quick value change. All right, so now I'm going to take my drawing stump and I'm going to use all that and smudge it. And I will probably need to go back a little bit, but I want to leave a little bit of a white space between where I'm working, or to the next line. Most of the hair should be some kind of a process. It shouldn't necessarily take 1 second to do. All right, and we all remember no guy, hopefully. Okay, no guy is saying, I don't want to see hair like this. I don't want to see hair just colored in. Your hair should not be close to the skin tone value, okay? And this is not your hair, and one single strand is not your hair, okay? All right, so let me finish this, and then I'm gonna still go back in and add some textures, because if you remember, that's what this hair is. I'll go in with a thinner pencil, one that's sharpened. And again, I'm doing a similar line to this, just to add back in that texture. If your hair is darker than this, then make it darker. Use darker values. If it goes more just like straight across, again, I'm not really looking at anyone's right now. This is just based off my memory. That's pretty good. Okay. All right, any questions on the fade? Now the fade and the waves. Okay. Next one. How about, I'll do another boys, but with more, actually, let me do more like Afro-y hair, I guess. So that one's actually a little bit more simple because you're just doing all of the things that you did here, but a little bit more of it. And less need for stopping. All right, I'm gonna have it come off the head a little bit. If you have more Afro-y type hair and it's closer to the head, then you would just do basically less. So I'm gonna start it as less so that we can see that. It's always a good idea to erase the headline. The headline, haha. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm actually gonna do, you know, a similar line to this. I need a curly kind of line. Okay, and if it's closer to the head, then you're probably gonna see more of the highlights in between. So you wanna try to keep those, okay? So right now I'm adding this line, but I'm actually gonna end up smudging it, and then I'm gonna repeat this line. All right, and there's always more than one way to do everything, just so you know that, okay? Just like when we did the textures, even though some people did theirs a little bit differently, it doesn't mean it's wrong, it's just different. It may not be as representational, but maybe it's enough to make it work. So everything is totally fine. All right, so I'm gonna go back in and add some stronger lines. And again, I'm doing kind of a crazy curly line. If the curls on this kind of hairdo are tighter, then draw the curls tighter. Okay, so now, again, I'm not gonna fully smudge. I almost wanna just kind of dot it. And the reason I dab it like this is so that I get some of those highlights in there. Okay, you can always go back in, try to bring out some of the highlights again. Go back in with the dark pencil, try to bring that back. Five shadows. Ooh, that's kind of creepy. Okay. All right, so that's more of the curly hair. I will show you long curly hair also. All right, what other hair do? All right, the boys, who have a little bit something on top. All right, so I'll start with my hairline. I'm gonna do, because it depends. You might see the hairline and we already know how to do that, but maybe you have some of the hair coming down in the front. All right, so hopefully you started by drawing the shape of that. Okay, now what I'm doing here, if there's a part, the part should be something kind of like that. It should go backwards. If the part is straight down the center, then it's gonna look something more like that. It's like the boys' 90s haircut. This is very Aaron Carter. Oh my God, nothing like this as 90s haircut for boys. All right, so up here, I'm gonna add some height. If this is the top of the head, chances are if there's some height, you're gonna have to add it. Okay, and try to add it to make it look like the shape of your hair. See where things are falling, where they're connecting. Does it line up with my ears? Does it go past my ears? Okay, so maybe I'll have a little bit on this side. All right, so there's the shape that I'm trying to do. So now we're actually just doing something very similar to what I showed you here and here. Okay, with this, where we laid down the value first and then we worked from that. Okay, so let me sharpen my pencil. Again. At least I can edit that out, sort of. You're gonna have to get a rubber band or something for that. Okay. So now, first of all, when you're in this part, literally the part, okay, or anything that's connected to the head area, I'm trying to draw those lines as if I'm adding in the individual lines. Okay, even around here. So I'm kind of doing these lines that go back and forth to show at least the start of hair. And if you look, if you observe your actual image right now, you probably are gonna see that your hairline is probably some of the darker values that you have. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna work from side to side. I'm gonna look for highlights in the hair. All right, now this doesn't encompass everybody's hair, but again, you're gonna just, this is giving you a general idea. Like your hair is a little bit more spikier, so you would draw more of that and then try to find your highlights as well. I mean, this is a very general wave. And then again, going back and finding some shadows. Okay, to get that spiky look. This is more when it just kind of goes around, goes over, or at least just drawing it in the direction it's growing in. Okay, so now I smudge and I try to somewhat bring these two sides, the dark side, connected to the other dark side. All right, and don't feel like you need to leave that part completely empty. So now I'm gonna go back in and add back in some highlights. Okay, same exact process as we did for the other hair. Okay, I'm going in with a thinner pencil. And if your hair is light, then you're basically just doing a similar process, but maybe with lighter value pencils and less hair being drawn. All right, so this is to show you lighter hair. All right, again, I'm gonna smudge and just keep working on it until I get more of a fuller look of hair. Bring out those highlights where I can. Basically like where the light is hitting your hair. All right, and most importantly, draw the hair in the direction it is growing in. That is the best practice for this. All right, so here's for the lighter hair, just to show you. All right, so similar process, but less. Now you can still go in and bring out some highlights. Definitely use a 3H pencil to try and bring out some of those lines, the individual hairs. All right, so there's lighter hair. There's a blondie. Okay, what other hairstyles? Whose? I just did yours. It's like a combination of this and this. What else? Does anyone have? I can do wavy hair, like for girls. The long hair I kind of did, but if you need me to do that again, I will. Yeah. Long hair? Okay. All right, so these two will be ladies. Okay, so if you haven't drawn your hairline, all right, like I was saying, the part in your hair is going to be similar to a shape like this, where it's kind of like almost a triangle, a really thin triangle. Okay, and we're not going to have such a clear-cut hairline like this. Ours might be a little more jagged. It might be a little different because we're not going to the barber and we're not getting that clean, crisp line, hairline. Okay, so you want to look for whatever the shape is. You want to see, does the hairline go in front of your ears or does it stop right at the top of your ears? Okay, how does, like for me, I have hair that kind of goes like this. I do have hair in front of the ears, but even right here, I have hair that went in front. I have some that's tucked behind my ear, so I drew that, and now this one's going in front. But I need to now just draw the shape of the hair. So as best as you can, try to get the height of it. I should have done the girls first so I had more space. Okay, and try to avoid having it be too short. You want to try and include shapes and chunks of the hair wherever possible, because it'll just give you a little bit of a kind of a separation and a place to shade it a little bit more more better, better. Okay, I'm gonna draw right here more of wavy hair. Okay, and I'll do it from the center, meaning a center part. All right, so I'm gonna do one side just kind of wavy and the other side curly. All right, so this is as if it's going in front of the ears. Actually, no, I'll have it. All right, like I said, wherever possible, if you can add and make it look kind of like a chunk is there of the hair, it definitely makes it better. All right, this one will be the tighter curls. Oh man, I did not leave enough space. I know, but no one here has the curly hair now. But I do want to just show it. Okay, so first for this one, for this hair, straight hair. Same process as before for this one, okay? And exactly what I was showing you on my own example. So when I start out, because I have dark hair, and again, if you have lighter hair, use a lighter value. I started out at the hair, at the part in the hair. So that's where I'm starting here. And even along the hairline, okay, adding in that. So now I have all these different sections. So I want to start by just working one section at a time. So if I were to shade this area, I'm giving it a little bit of value first. But I am going to skip an area because I want that area to have a highlight. Okay? Up here, chances are at the top of your head you have a highlight. Right now what I'm seeing in the mirror for myself is a highlight all along the top. And then right by the hairline, it's pretty dark. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to start smudging. All right, now we're getting it, just everything seems to be a little bit of a similar process. So I'm smudging the values. I can go over the highlight if needed. All right, behind the hair, and you can look in the mirror to see this. When it's like closer towards the inside of your neck, probably that area is a lot darker. So by even adding in that value, that darker value in comparison with the top value that's a lot brighter, it makes a difference. It gives it that three-dimensional appearance. Okay, it doesn't have to stay that value, but that's what I'm adding right now. Okay, so I'm going to finish smudging right here. Okay, I want to bring back out that this is one shape right here. Okay, it works a lot less on this. Well, actually, okay. Only because this is so small and I use the pencil eraser because it's a small eraser. Okay, but I guess we're getting the idea across. All right, so I'm trying to bring out some highlights in my shading. Okay, and I'm starting to do that. Now I'm gonna go in with, again, a thinner pencil. So either the H, an HB, or a 3H pencil. And it should be sharpened. So now I'm going in. And I'm just trying to basically draw in each individual hair. That's the purpose of this thinner pencil. Okay, and again, I'm gonna smudge, and then I'm gonna erase, and then I'm gonna go back in to try and bring out more hairs. Okay, but now it's starting to come together for sure. Okay, I'm trying to bring out the dark values wherever they might be. You can also use the kneaded eraser to try to bring back out some of the highlights if you lose them. Okay, and that's the general idea for the hair, or at least the straight hair. For the wavy hair, all right, the wavy hair is annoying for the reason that you have more highlights and more shadows, but it does have a nicer look, and the chunks are already there if you drew those in properly, at least. Or at least you drew yourself the chunks. Whatever you do, just don't do the no guy. Don't do the no guy wave. Okay, none of this. That is not the wave. All right, so when you look at your hair in the mirror, if you have wavy hair, look for where the shadows are falling, and that's where you're gonna start drawing those in. I start by drawing in the shadows, and I try to draw them almost like in a scoop motion in the direction that they are, but I also go back and forth, and I do that so that I get a variety in the shape of the hair and the line that I'm making. Okay, same thing for the hairline. You want to keep those lines visible. Okay, and right at the part in the hair, I want that to be my darkest. Okay, so probably towards the bottom of your hair is one of the darker values, but maybe it's light. Maybe you also dye your hair. Okay, and if it's below, if it's behind, it's probably a darker value. Okay, and by doing that, you're also creating some depth in the hair, which is nice. All right, so basically it's a lot of the same processes, just done it differently, or a little different. All right, so again, I'm gonna smudge. All right, I can definitely see already that I'm gonna need to bring back some of my highlights. But you can also already see that dark shadow right in between the sections of hair. Definitely did something cool. Okay, so you can definitely see some highlights and shadows happening. All right, I'm gonna bring some of those back out, some of the highlights. I'm gonna use a pencil eraser, or at least a thin eraser. Okay, go in with the thinner pencil and kind of climb towards the shadows of the hair. All right, so it's a little more work, but it is not at all impossible, and it really isn't that much of a pain. Okay, so that's for the wavy hair. Okay, and if you need to smudge a little more, smudge a little more. It'll definitely give it a nice smooth look. And if you need to bring out more highlights, bring out more highlights. All right, remember the highlights and the shadows, that's really what makes or breaks anything of this. All right, and the last is gonna be the curly hair, which is not my specialty, but we'll give it a shot. All right, so I feel like for the curly hair, I almost wish I could look at some. Does anyone have curly hair in here? No, not like the girl curls. All right, so for the girl curls, all right, so again, I'm getting closer to what I did here. I'm starting by creating some of these shadows. Whether you're doing it kind of as like a scoop like this or here. All right, again, there's a lot of different ways that you could create that look. All right, you do definitely still have at least this start. Okay, trying to get the hairline in there. We'll find out if this does it. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna smudge. And again, I do really want to leave some areas in highlight and some in shadow. It's getting there. Okay, now I'm actually going to go in with this. So now I want to be a little more specific with how I'm doing this, trying to find and bring out the curls, almost like okay, good. Almost like doing something like this and searching for each individual curl. Actually, this is probably the better way to do it. So having the curls, basically just doing that quicker. This is one way for sure. And going back in and finding out, or finding some of the curls. All right, and I'll do this one on the bottom. Okay, but the point that you need to also do for the curly hair, okay? So again, I'm trying to bring out some of those highlights. And you could do that with just a regular eraser. And then you go back in and you add more specific lines. Or you could do that with the kneaded eraser. All right, it's definitely accomplishing that look. All right, so this is the other way. And then you go in and you curve to one another and you just keep going. You have dark areas and light areas. And what you should try to do is create a lot of darker areas that were there and create the highlighted areas that kind of pick up the light. Okay, so I erased a little bit. I'm going in, adding in some more of the sturdier lines. Okay, all right, that's all I'm showing on the curly hair. Okay, so here are the 5 different hairs: straight, curly, wavy, boy, boy, boy. All right.